Caol Ila, vintage 1999, the Whiskey Trail Islay Single Malt Scotch Whisky. Vintage 1999, bottled in 2011, that's a 12-year-old. Is there any difference between this and the standard 12-year-old? Let's find out. Welcome to another episode of Erik Whiskey Studies, and in this video I'm going to do a review of this bottle that I picked up from the Whiskey Exchange in London, England. Now, I wanted a bottle that was not available here in the United States and something that was exclusive to the Whiskey Exchange. The Whiskey Exchange has a number of exclusive bottles produced just for them, and they bottle some of their own. So I bought this Caol Ila with that in mind. So rather than putting an age statement, they put a vintage of 1999, but then it says summer of 2011 bottled. I thought, wait a minute, that's a 12-year-old. I've got a 12-year-old. Did I just buy a bottle that I already had at home? It's just the same thing with a different label? That's what I want to find out in this video. But before we get into this, here are my notes. Caol Ila 1999, the Whiskey Trail, Islay Single Malt Scotch Whisky. A 1999 vintage Caol Ila bottled by the Whiskey Trail in 2011. No information about the barrels is provided, but it is bottled at 43% alcohol by volume, is sold in a 70 cl bottle, and sells for about £63 at the Whiskey Exchange. Alright, so the first thing I notice is the Whiskey Trail bottle from the Whiskey Exchange is a clear glass bottle. It looks kind of dark there, but as we all know, you're allowed to add E150 to a whiskey, and usually if a whiskey is that dark and it's not a sherry cask, that means it's probably got some E150, but we don't know because not a lot of information is available about it. And as I look at the Caol Ila 12-year-old bottle, although it has colored glass, sort of a yellowish tan colored glass, if we actually look at the whiskey, we can see it is a lighter color. So right off the bat, I think I'm pretty clear that they're not simply just taking a 12-year-old and putting it on their own label, because I've never seen a Caol Ila, this official bottle, that was that dark. Let's put the two up against each other. There you go. The one on the right is the Whiskey Exchange, and it has a little more orange, sort of copper color to it. The one on my left, the official bottle of the 12-year-old, sort of a light golden straw color. Now, what about the aromas and the flavors? By the way, if you ever are in London, you got to check out the Whiskey Exchange. In that neighborhood, within close walking distance, you can go to Buckingham Palace, Westminster Abbey. There's all kinds of museums. The Soho district is really close by. You can walk there. And one of my favorite whiskey bars is Milroy's of Soho. So if you're ever in the area, check out the Whiskey Exchange. Go by Buckingham Palace. Say hello to the Queen. See maybe the changing of the guards or something like that. And then go over to Milroy's, and if you see Eddie, tell him Erik Waite said hello. Alrighty. So, if I didn't know better, I would swear this actually might have a little sherry influence. Not just because of the color, but I'm smelling it on the nose. There's a little bit of that sort of black fruit character. You know, like a little bit of the fig, a little bit of the dates, a little bit of the raisins. Nice chocolate notes. Caramels, vanilla, caramelized apples, some cinnamon and spice. It's not real intense, sort of a moderate intensity, but it's there. All right, the 12-year-old. Yeah, the 12-year-old, actually a little bit more pear, apple, but fresh apple, fresh pear. A little bit of that green, sort of a green fruit note, green tree fruit note. More of the Granny Smith. Does have the peat and the smoke in there as well. different types of chocolate. This is more like a milk chocolate. This is more like a darker chocolate. And I mean, psychologically, just from the color, you know, you can be influenced by color. Your eyes, you know, could put ideas and thoughts and flavors and aromas into your head that aren't actually there. So to really do it blind, you would need to either wear a blindfold or have a dark glass so you can't see it. That's just the way it is, and that's the reason why they put coloring in whiskeys, and that's why they use sometimes, even in wines, they'll use something called mega purple. It's a grape extract to darken wines because people associate darker colors with better or higher quality, more richness. But I would say the 12 smells like a traditional Caol Ila. The vintage smells like it's got just a wee, either that or something in the charring of a cask. All right, on the palate. Yep, definitely different. Wow. Now let's drink some water and try the 12. Yep, two totally different whiskeys. The 12-year-old actually tastes younger. It has, probably because the green fruit notes that you tend to associate with, you know, a younger spirit. The vintage 1999, come from the Whiskey Exchange, is richer, slightly darker fruit. This, you know, green apple, pear, lime, lemon, more citrus. The smoke and the peat is interwoven actually quite nicely. It doesn't have a lot of development from the front to the middle into the finish, but drink a little more water. The 1999 vintage from the Whiskey Exchange. Yeah, it's richer, a lot darker chocolate, more intense caramels. Actually, and this actually has more of a salty note. The Caol Ila 12 doesn't have that salty note. Wow. They're both 43% alcohol by volume. You would think, based on the year, based on the origin, based on the ABV level, that they would be pretty similar, but it's not. I really, really like this one. This is like 87, 88. This is like a point higher, at least a point higher. I don't know if I'm going to get into 90. I tend to be generous. I know I tend to be generous with my scores. I wouldn't quite take it into 90. It would need to be higher ABV. It would have more depth of flavor, more intensity, a longer finish and all that. But that being said, the Whiskey Exchange, the Whiskey Trail Caol Ila 1999 vintage is a better whiskey than the one from the distillery. So if you're ever in London, or you can actually order these online if you want to, and they have other distilleries available as well. I think they're worth checking out. You know, I've heard other people say that sometimes independent bottlings of Caol Ila are better than what you're going to get straight from the distillery. So I really, really like it. Alrighty, that's it for this review. If you subscribe to this channel, and thank you very much. I want to give a special shout out and thank you to all my Patreons. And if you want more content, I do more behind the scenes videos and uncorkings and stuff like that for Patreons. So if you want to get in more content from my channel, then become, you know, $1 a month at least, and become a Patreon and support the channel and become part of the Erik Waite Whiskey Studies community. If you like my videos and you have not subscribed yet, please do so and give the bell a ring so you'll be notified when I go live or post another video. All right, until next time, cheers. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and check out these other whiskey videos.